So earlier today, I promised I was going to give basic explanation why Australia is burning. I mentioned in my earlier video that I would look at the different factors that are contributing to the bushfire, or if you like, wildfire in Australia. I mentioned in that video that the fire actually started in September 2019. I also said that this is not the first time Australia is actually recording bushfire, or whatever you may choose to call it, whether bushfire or wildfire, whichever way. I mean, it still explains the same thing. In that particular video, I told you that Australia lies in the southern hemisphere, and I explained that a bit. And now I'll just take you through some of the reasons behind Australian fire. In December, January, and February, it is always summer in Australia. And I said that Australia lies in the southern hemisphere. During that period, the southern hemisphere is actually exposed to most of the direct heat from the sun, and that is whatever heat that is coming from the sun, much of it is being directed towards the southern hemisphere. Now, that is not the case in the northern hemisphere within that period. December, January, and then February. So the hottest months in Australia are December, January, and February. And don't also forget that Australia is divided into 6 states. We have the Western Australia, South Australia, we have Victoria, Tasmania, Queensland, and New South Wales. The most affected area or state in this particular fire is the New South Wales. It has a worst record of 20 years fire, or bushfire, or wildfire, whichever way you want to call it. It is home to the largest city in Australia, that is Sydney. Now, the entire Australia is the driest in the world. The entire world, Australia is the driest in the world. It is the most desert in the world. If you read a lot, you will find out that 70% of Australia is semi-arid and arid, and only 30% is an effective desert. Now, Australia receives the lowest amount of rainfall, and that happens especially in the coastal parts of Australia. Now, people would want to know, why is Australia burning? Why are they witnessing this particular wildfire, and why is Australia very hot? The Tropic of Capricorn passes through Australia. I'm gonna explain this in a write-up attached to this video. The Tropic of Capricorn passes through Australia. Now, the northern part of Australia is a tropical zone, and the southern part of Australia is a temperate zone. It actually lies in a temperate zone. Now, between the tropical zone and the temperate zone is what we call the subtropical area, or region, or zone. Now, in this particular subtropical zone or region, we can find the high pressure zone, and I explained earlier in my earlier video that in the high pressure zone, air sinks. In the high pressure zone, air sinks. In the high pressure zone, air sinks. But the equatorial region, where there is low pressure zone, we expect warm air to rise and move to the poles. This is a bit confusing here because of the scientific nature of what I'm trying to explain. But what I'm trying to say is that the equatorial region is a low pressure zone. It's a low pressure zone, and therefore within that low pressure zone, we expect that warm air will rise and move towards the poles. I mean both poles, and so the warm air then sinks and creates a high pressure zone. And so when the warm air sinks and creates a high pressure zone, I mean that particular place is now called the subtropical high. I mean the circulation of these atmospheric whatever, the atmospheric circulation a bit. Let me explain this again. In a high pressure zone, warm air sinks, and when that happens, the surrounding areas become warm. This is one of the reasons why Australia is hot and dry. Now in 2019, for instance, Australia was very hot and dry. I mean, that particular year was the hottest and driest year in Australia. And so the combination of hot temperature, extreme dry weather conditions, and windy air actually contribute to what is happening in Australia now. So bushfire is very common in Australia. Most of the local farmers there, practice that to be able to farm and all that. So at the least mistake that somebody set fire in the bush, then it will travel to many other areas. So basically this is the reason why Australia is very, very hot and very dry, and that is why they are experiencing that wildfire in recent times. Thank you so much for watching. That is what I can do for now, but I'm gonna attach some little explanation to some of the things that I mentioned here, because I know it is very difficult for some of you to understand these scientific terms. So I'm going to write something attached to this video so that you will get a better understanding